Hello, welcome to Wolf Trap National Park for the Performing Arts. My name is Amanda Garrison and I am the Volunteer Program Manager here at the park. I would like to welcome you to this week's RSVP podcast, where I will be sharing details about all of our wonderful upcoming volunteer opportunities for the 2018 summer season.
Welcome to our newest RSVP Northern Virginia podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Amanda Garrison, the Volunteer Program Coordinator with the Wolf Trap National Park for the Performing Arts. We also have with us volunteer specialist from RSVP, Carly Hubicki. Wolf Trap is one of the premier outdoor entertainment venues in the country, featuring a 7,000-seat feline center with seating undercover and on the lawn. Wolf Trap is the only national park for the performing arts and is co-managed by the National Park Service and the Wolf Trap Foundation. Wolf Trap is also we're very fortunate to have Wolf Trap as one of our RSVP's wonderful volunteer partners. Amanda, thanks so much for joining us today, and thanks for having us here at Wolf Trap. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely, I'm happy to have you guys here with us.
Wonderful. Amanda, could you give our listeners and our RSVP volunteers an idea of what your role at Wolf Trap encompasses?
Sure. I manage all aspects of the volunteer program at Wolf Trap National Park for the Performing Arts. That includes advertising, recruitment, interviewing, training, scheduling, correspondence, tracking hours, and recognizing the work of our wonderful volunteers.
Excellent. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording this that I don't think everyone realizes that Wolf Trap is a park. It's an open park, and it's full year round. Even when there are not concerts going on, people can come out here and enjoy the land. Is that
absolutely? Yeah. We actually have trails behind the Feline Center that are accessible all the time. We are a national park the same way that Yellowstone and Yosemite and Grand Canyon are national parks. We're just a little bit more unique as we have performing arts, and we don't have a whole lot of wildlife. No bison, no geysers here, but
deer.
We do have deer, yeah, and fox as well.
Good deal. Well, that's it. No.
So we're a real park.
No wolves yet, but, Wolf Trap is such a large operation. I'm sure it must take a lot of people to support what goes on here, especially during the summer. Whether you're having a National Symphony concert or Alan Jackson or you name it. Can you give us an idea how volunteers for you, what they do, what type of roles are available for RSVP volunteers at Wolf Trap?
Sure. So a lot of people support our park. Actually, in fiscal year 2017, the park-wide volunteer program totaled 1,400 people who contributed over 30,000 hours of service. The majority of the park's volunteer opportunities support the Feline Center's summer operation. So some of the opportunities that we offer would be the volunteer usher, which is the largest part of our volunteer program. Our usher volunteers pass out programs, they scan tickets, they help us enforce house rules, and they also assist visitors with finding their seat. The volunteer rangers drive carts, which transport people from the parking lots up to the main gate. They provide directions and orientation, and they help answer questions. Our EMS volunteers are certified EMTs who respond to any medical incident during our shows. And then our maintenance volunteers, last but not least, very important, help us remove trash and recycling during and after performances.
Boy, that is a wide variety, more than I even realized. Do volunteers at Wolf Trap need to go through any training or any orientations before they start to volunteer here?
Yes. So each one is going to be a little bit different based on the opportunity, but it is mandatory for everyone to attend either an orientation or a training. And those are usually scheduled in April and early May, obviously before the start of the season.
Excellent. Now, I had a conversation with one of our engagement leaders at RSVP, Lou, who also is one of your great volunteers, and he was telling me you guys have sort of an interesting way of scheduling people during the concert season. I think it's divided up by days or days
exactly.
of the week.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and any minimum time requirements, which I think ties into that?
Sure. Yeah. So keep in mind that scheduling is going to vary slightly with each position, and today I will cover the new volunteer usher and how we schedule them. So a new volunteer usher is required to work on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Those are the days that we need the most support. So as a new volunteer usher, you select one of those days and you commit to working that day of the week for the entire season. So if you select Friday, you are committing to working every show scheduled on Friday during the performance season. Of course, we know that people take vacation during the summer, so everyone gets 3 excused absences. And then there's also a substitution policy in place where a volunteer usher could pick up an extra show for you if you needed more than 3 absences. So now that you've selected Friday as your volunteer day, then we ask if you're available for either an early shift or a late shift. An example of an early shift would be like a ticket scanner, and that position would start 2 hours prior to the start of the show. A late shift would be any of the volunteer positions that are located inside the house, and that position would start 1 hour prior to the show. So each shift length varies based on the usher position and then also on the length of the show. So some shows are much longer and some shows are much shorter. So it just kind of is very dependent on the performance.
Great, that's good. And when this scheduling takes place, and just to reiterate, how far in advance does that scheduling go on? I mean, like for the days of the week. Is that done in the beginning of the year?
Yeah, so that would be something that once you have attended the training, and because that's mandatory. After you've attended the training, then we work with scheduling. So this is happening definitely prior to the season starting. We have to kind of wait until we get the schedule for the season, but up front, because you have a copy of the schedule, how many days you would be committed to based on either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
And just to follow up on one of the things you said, my understanding is that if, let's say, you have Friday nights, but your favorite singer in the world is Tuesday night, that there's always that possibility that you might be able to either trade off or fill in as a substitute.
Absolutely.
If there's an opening, there's no guarantee or promise.
Absolutely, yeah. We actually have an official day before the season starts where people can submit their requests to have someone take their shift, and then we always have, it's about 100 to 150 people that come to this day every year, and they're able to pick up, that's the first opportunity to pick up that extra show for the performance that you really want to see. Cool. So we absolutely take people that are outside of their regularly scheduled day. Right. You have the opportunity to work other shows based on the availability.
That's great. That sounds wonderful. Now, the other thing, I try to get out to Wolf Trap every year. I think I've been pretty good about that. And I always notice that all the ushers are dressed pretty consistently. Do the volunteers wear a uniform? Do they need to get one? How does that work?
Yeah, so they absolutely wear a uniform, and the uniform for the volunteer ushers is basically the same as the uniform that the paid usher staff wear. So that would be a white blouse or a white button-down shirt, black slacks or a black skirt, and then black closed-toed shoes with black socks. And so that's all provided by the volunteer. The National Park Service, we provide green volunteer lanyards where you attach a name badge that we provide. We also have an usher medallion that goes on to the lanyard, and then depending on the show, you may also wear either a necktie or a neck scarf. So one of the major differences with the volunteer staff and then the paid staff is the radio. So if you see anyone with a radio on, that would be the paid staff. The volunteers aren't wearing the radios. But other than that, they look pretty much the same.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Okay, great. And one other question on scheduling. while a majority of the shows are in the evenings, I know there are certain times. I know in the past you guys used to have the Beach Boys here on Sunday afternoon, and you've got we got a couple of festivals that go all day. But the majority of these volunteer assignments would be within probably the 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock range.
Absolutely. Yes. So the performance schedule varies every season. Of course, there were a few instances last season where we did have a matinee or an afternoon performance scheduled along with an evening performance. And so let's say that's on your Sunday night. And in which case, if you're a Sunday volunteer, then the evening performance would be the required one for you to volunteer. And then the matinee is usually something that we fill in with extra people. So we would never require you to work two shows. And, you know, if we had 2 shows scheduled on your night, you would never be required to work 2.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
I know Wolf Trap has partnered with RSVP. I'm not exactly sure how many years, but for several years now. Why does Wolf Trap enjoy working with RSVP, senior volunteers in particular, and why is it, in your opinion, is that such a good fit?
We are happy to partner with RSVP because, first and foremost, the individuals who volunteer with RSVP really want to give back to the community, and they are always willing to support us in whatever capacity is needed. RSVP volunteers are flexible, and they come to us with life experiences that really enrich our volunteer program. Last summer, we welcomed a new volunteer usher, Vivian, who came to us from RSVP, and she was so valuable to us because of her flexibility and her willingness just to work. There was one show in particular where we were really shorthanded, and she stepped up as a ticket scanner and literally scanned hundreds and hundreds of tickets for us, and she really helped us make, lemonade with lemons. She was fabulous, and all of our RSVP volunteers are like that. They are just truly invaluable to our program.
Good deal. Well, it's good to hear about Vivi and everybody else. That is fantastic. And then finally, just to make sure we've covered all our bases here, are there any other aspects of being part of the Wolf Trap volunteer program that we haven't covered or that you'd like people to know about?
Well, volunteering at Wolf Trap National Park for the Performing Arts is unique. You have the opportunity to support the performing arts as well as the National Park Service. You get exposure to a variety of performance styles and different people who attend the performances. And it's really a different experience every time you come in to volunteer. So it's constantly changing. And one of my favorite aspects in particular of the program is that oftentimes couples volunteer together, and so it becomes kind of like a date night for people, and so volunteering with a friend or a spouse or a family member is strongly encouraged.
That's great. Well, we're all about that. Well, Amanda, thank you again for taking time to speak with us. I want to let our listeners know that we're attempting to set something up, so a possible orientation at RSVP, a special event out here at Wolf Trap, and we hope to share more of that as those details become available. If you're already an RSV volunteer and you would like to volunteer at Wolf Trap, please contact our volunteer specialist, Carly Hubicki, at 703-403-5360. And she will make sure that you get sent to the right place and get hooked up with Amanda. You can also go to our website, www.rsvpnova.org, where you can find out more about our next orientations. Thank you again, and we look forward to hearing more about Wolf Trap. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us today on the RSVP Northern Virginia podcast. For Carly Hudicki and Nadia Hoonen, this is Rob Payne saying thanks and have a great day. Remember, RSVP Northern Virginia, matching great senior volunteers with great opportunities. For more information, please visit our website at www.rsvpnova.org. Have a great day.